Hey BookTube! It's a book review video. And this week the subject is Traitors by Sebastian de Castell. Book 1 of the Greatcoats books. Not actually sure how many are there. Trilogy maybe? I don't know. So, a little bit of what it's about. Fairly traditional, medieval, stylish world of fantasy. The world that exists is more of a nation, I suppose, the story takes place in, which is made up of 6 duchies, ruled by 6 dukes. And each of those duchies is effectively its own nation. But at times in this nation's history, it has had a king, which was the case recently. And that king set up an institute of travelling magisters. Imagine Judge Dredd, but with no cool guns. These travelling magisters, who are effectively judge, jury, and occasionally executioner, are called the Greatcoats. And you guessed it, they've got really big coats, apparently with built-in armour of near magical abilities to deflect weapons. And lots of little secret pockets, which is all fine. But the 6 dukes didn't really like having a king, so they chopped his head off, leaving the Greatcoats to be disbanded. And this book centres on 3 of those Greatcoats, who are best friends and eking out an existence together as mercenary guardsmen. Now, while the dukes aren't technically hunting down the Greatcoats, they're not exactly in favour of them. And they'll take whatever opportunity they can to kill one here or there. So that's one of the forces that these 3 Greatcoats we've got, Falchio, Brasti, and Castell, are trying to avoid. Doesn't help that they get set up for murder right at the start of the book and go on the run. I suppose that's enough background. Thoughts on the characters? Falchio, he's our somewhat morose lead. The main character, he's got some issues that he's trying his best to deal with. And one of the ways he deals with his issues is to try and save everyone around him. Fairly traditional fantasy hero type character. Brasti is the affable archer, whose every action is accompanied by a smile and a joke, and probably a pick-up line for whatever lady is nearby. And finally, of the 3, there is Castell, the finest swordsman in the land. And, kind of the opposite of Brasti. He tells no jokes, laughs never. He's a bit grumpy, but I still liked him. I maybe even liked him the best. He was the least human of the 3. And as we progress through the story, there are a couple of women who get drawn into the plot and become quite key characters. I suppose the plot is one of the fight against the man, or men in this case, the dukes. Actually, it's not just men, dukes and duchess. One of trying to avenge their fallen leader, their king, who was executed 10 years prior. Of trying to win back their honour and their name. These characters are sick of living as disgraced mercenaries, tired of living under oppressive dukes who murdered their king. They want to change the world for the better. They just don't really know how to do it. But obviously, that's what the book's about. It's a very enjoyable book. Some quite dark moments in it, offset by moments of great humour, usually from Brasti. There were a couple of little side plots that seemed fairly pointless. Could have sped the book up a bit if they'd been not in the book. But overall, it had quite a good pace to it. A good amount of action. The characters developed nicely through the book as you learnt not only about their personalities in the present, but their history and how they became who they are. The villains in it are almost comically villainous, which I thought perhaps detracted from the novel a little. But enjoyable nonetheless. Based on this first book, I very much would read the next book. In fact, I did look at it. The synopsis for that, don't know if I'll bother or not. So instead, I decided to read The Poppy War. Quite enjoying that, so don't regret that decision. Anyone else reading that? Yes? No? Maybe? Can't remember. Let me know if you've read Traitor's Blade, what you thought of it, or if you're reading The Poppy War. For those of you that don't know, that's sort of Eastern style medieval warfare meets the X-Men. Those are my thoughts for this week. Bye.